Are we live? Oh, wow. I don't know if we need to talk about anything. Christina covered it all, right?
Yeah, it's pretty thorough. I don't know. We
could just talk about, we went to Zola today. We had a really good breakfast, right?
It was actually quite good, yeah.
Yeah. You got some egg whites? Okay. Thank you so much for doing this with me. This is, we've done this a couple times before, but never like this.
We did?
Yeah. Well, you don't remember?
Was it here?
It might have been. No, in Los Angeles.
Hello,
where we
Atlanta.
both live.
Yeah. Okay.
And where I feel, I work, as Christina said, at the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, but I get to work with incredible artists like Tom, who's here. I'm really happy he's
Tom
here too.
Anderson
Tom
rocks.
Anderson.
Where is he?
and Pat O'Neill, who was here last year, who you knew a little bit at UCLA, right? And certainly we know in LA. And you. I get to work with people like you, and nothing could make me happier, and I mean that. So.
No. Here's the thing. I get a call from this guy at the Academy, and he goes, we want to restore some of your old work. And I'm thinking, maybe the Decline movies or something. But he goes, no, your really old work, like your student movies. And I'm shocked. I can't imagine anybody would want to even see them or restore them. But Mark, for years now, has been doing that, and I'm just so thankful that he's put the effort forth. And I even forgot I made some of them, It's like, but you know what these guys do, which is so commendable? They go when they can get their foot in the door in the various vaults around LA, and I'm assuming other cities as well, and they kind of just act like they're looking for something, but not really saying what. And then they spot a name they like or know. And then they call the filmmaker, find out, and then they get it. I mean, they're like treasure trove, or whatever you call that when people look for shit that you're not supposed to have.
Indiana Jones, maybe? No?
Yeah.
It's not that glamorous, but I remember I was going through an old film vault, and I stepped on something weird. I thought it was just like the top of a film can that had fallen on the ground, but then it wouldn't come off my foot, and I looked down, and it was one of those sticky traps for rats, and there was a dead rat on it.
No, stop.
And it was stuck to my foot, and I couldn't get it
see?
off. Yeah.
That's the kind of work this man does.
I know, that's what I do for you.
For that, we must commend him. But I do thank you guys for doing that.
It's beyond a pleasure.
Yeah.
I also, speaking of thank yous, I do want to thank Christina, for sure. I want to thank David Donnell from Ann Arbor Film Festival, of course, and Leslie and Ellie and Maria, also with the festival. And I think we got to thank Lance, who's making sure we sound good back then.
Yeah.
And Walt and Tom, Walt, who's going to be helping us with a few clips we have to share with you guys.
And Becca, who's going to help us, and so we have to thank Becca.
Yeah, we got to thank Becca. Everybody should thank Becca.
All right. Thank all of you guys.
So, let's begin.
Yeah, go. Just start, dude.
Where did you come from? Where on earth did you come from?
Oh, there's that freaky camera they were talking about. I thought it was going to be on me. What's up with this?
I didn't even see that.
She said it was going to be on me. It's right in the middle. Okay. I was born... No. I was going to do that Steve Martin line, but it's not funny anymore. Actually was born on a carnival. My father owned a carnival. And spent the first 7 years of my life on a carnival. So when I actually was on my first film set, and there were all these cables on the ground and a whole bunch of trucks over there, I felt perfectly at home. And selling tickets and all that, yeah, it all kind of works with the movie thing. And then when I was 7 years old, my father, because of a racial dispute down in Alabama, was murdered in Alabama. And my daughter's actually making a film about this now. And so then after that, mom from Kansas with 4 little kids takes the trailer, because that's all she could get out of the carnival, and hits the road, and we were kind of like traveling everywhere. And I was the boss of all the 4 kids, which is why I can run a film set. And And we were raised in trailer parks all over the place. And
You had a babysitter, didn't you?
huh?
Didn't you have a special babysitter?
Oh yeah, I did. On the carnival, I had my babysitter was a chimpanzee. Actually, I have pictures of me and the chimpanzee, and yeah. So there you go. The money-saving thing, I don't know. But they didn't know that they would murder you. You know what I mean?
It may account for some behavior I've noticed in you over the years.
Huh?
It may account for some behavior I've noticed in you over the years.
What are you talking about, man? We did not plan that. I know.
This is not scripted. And we're going to talk about scripting a little bit later.
Okay, all right. So that was the early years.
Yeah. Well, so
and
as you mentioned,
my mom got married while after my dad, she got married 7 times. So I had 7 stepfathers. Yeah.
And by the way, please, if you can, come to the shorts program tonight, because there's a beautiful film in there that Penelope made about her mom in the 90s. And you hear about her pretty incredible life and about the carnival life a little bit.
Yeah. So that was early.
That was,
Early.
Yeah.
So then what happened?
And then somehow, from this very atypical background, and you guys are really poor, I know.
Yeah.
How did you end up at UCLA Film School?
Well, I had studied I'd studied art. I understand there may be a lot of art students here tonight. More power to you. But I didn't get along with the art students, unfortunately. I didn't get along with the art students. I don't know why. It's just, I think it was like everybody was trying to out-freaky everybody else. You know?
And you were like, hey, I'm from a carnival, dude.
Yeah, I'm from a carnival, so don't start up with me being a freak. You know what I mean? So everybody was trying to be so incredibly unique. And anyway, so I decided, forget the art thing. I'm going to study. I went the opposite. I'm going to study the sciences. So I found a wonderful teacher at Long Beach State College, George Falcon, and he was in the biological sciences, and I started studying with him. Then I transferred to UCLA, I skipped a few things there, and I went to UCI, where I studied what they called back then, and it's a funny word now, but I actually think they still have classes called psychobiology. I studied that, which was cool because it's really studying behavior and how the chemistry in your brain affects your behavior. And ultimately, what I discovered there was I was just mostly interested in studying human behavior, And so I was at just one afternoon when the Santa Ana winds were kicking up, I was talking to Bill Norton, who's also a director, and he said he was going to go to film school at UCLA, and I'm like, are you joking me? They have a school where you could learn how to make movies? I mean, this is how long ago it was, That makes me really old. But anyway, yeah, so he told me about UCLA, and I transferred there, and it was during the time when you could actually work at IHOP and pay your tuition, and I feel so bad for a lot of students today because they're trying to, do something with their career, but it's so expensive, I mean, I was just collecting tips and doing it, Yeah.
So had you already been interested in movies quite a bit, or?
Yeah, no, when I was growing up, that's all we do is, movies were like 50 cents back then, and so we would collect Coke bottles and, and whatever else, we would steal. And somebody leave an old trailer in the pit trailer park, we'd break in. No. Anyway, so yeah, a bunch of scroungy kids, and we'd go to the movies, yeah.
And you were the oldest of 4 kids, right?
Right, yeah.
So you were sort of like a mom in a way to them, right?
Yeah, no, I was the boss, and if I didn't take care of them, I got the crap beat out of me. So I really took care of them, which is fine because, made me tough.
And that's probably some of the best director training anybody could have, right?
Oh yeah, just beat the hell out of them.
We have any film students out here?
Because that's what happens when you get into
siblings.
Get into the studio system. You just get really pretty bad beat up. Yeah.
But so now you get to UCLA Film School, and you're, if I may ask, you're in your late teens, early 20s at that point?
I don't
like
remember,
that,
man.
Just something like that.
No, I think I must have been in the early 20s. Yeah, early 20s.
Yeah.
And I was actually the first woman who they allowed to work in the tech office there, which is the place that dishes out the equipment when the students need to go do their movies. And they never let the women work in there because they thought we couldn't pick up the equipment. And they kept standing there going, are you sure you can pick up that Aeroflex? And I'm like, yeah, watch. Anyway, so Yeah, I worked there, and I learned a lot in there. I learned a lot about the
Yeah.
technical aspects, yeah.
And at the time, I think it's pretty, I mean, it almost goes without saying that it was a pretty heavily male-dominated environment, the film school.
Yeah.
I mean, and the industry, of course, as it still is.
Yeah.
And as the film schools perhaps still are, I'm not actually sure. But what could that possibly have been like in the late 60s?
Well, late 60s at UCLA, there was this place called the Gypsy Wagon, and we would all gather around there, and they call it the Gypsy Wagon because all the weird people would go there. It's what you bought, like, you know, cookies and tacos and stuff. And, and there was like maybe 3 women in the film school. Chick Strand was one of them, who she was an awesome filmmaker.
Oh, yeah.
And I was friends with Chick. And yeah, I mean, I spent way too long in grad school because I knew when I left that I couldn't make movies. And I think Mark was saying I have more of those old short student movies than most people who went to film school do.
Yeah.
And the reason is because I refused to leave, you know. And I had a tech office where I could sign the equipment out to myself. So I kept just making movies. I got addicted back then.
Well, and that probably to some degree accounts for the incredible diversity of your early shorts. I mean, there's a lot of different styles, a lot of different things you're exploring. I mean, like mockumentary, and there's your first film, Synthesis. It's like a sci-fi movie with no people in it. And I mean, it's a pretty diverse body of work, and it seems like you're figuring a lot out during that time.
Yeah, I mean, you had to shoot in Super 8, and it was, real basic and not much sound. And I haven't even seen this. How long is it? How long is that
Synthesis?
movie?
About 7 minutes.
7. Are you going to show a clip of it today? Just a little clip?
I got a little clip.
Huh?
I got a little clip.
Because I haven't seen it.
You want to look at a couple little clips?
In like
Shall we show a
50
few?
years or whatever. How old am I? A long time.
We have a clip now. This is excerpts from 3 of those early films.
Oh, right on. Was that smooth or what?
Yeah. Let's check it out.
Okay.
And we'll be like Mystery Science Theater here with our heads.
Within 48 hours after apprehension, each person is taken before a preliminary hearing officer who informs him of the grounds upon which application for his detention was made. The results of the hearing can be appealed to a detention review board. Mr. Allen quotes Senator Carl Mudd as having remarked,
"We have before us a bill which is purely totalitarian. It gives to a group of 9 members of a detention camp board the sole right, without any due process of law and in violation of all our constitutional guarantees, to detain in a concentration camp native-born American citizens."
All right.
Oh my God.
Was that kind of weird to be that close to that big an image of that woman getting in
It's
that
just
bath?
weird with all these different subject matters. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, what
Like I
kind of
said.
whack?
Yeah. The funny thing, we were talking about this earlier today, I was thinking about, you have a few films that are explicitly political at this time, but I was suggesting, and I don't know if you agree, that Bath has a certain political quality because, like I said, if you come to the show tonight, you'll see this. It's a very sensual, intimate view of a woman taking a bath, but you credit yourself at the very beginning. And to me, that totally changes the way you look at it, because there are plenty of guys at UCLA Film School making movies loaded with nude women, not to mention just male filmmakers at the time. But I'm just curious if you want to say a little bit about what you might have been after.
It's probably just after the credit, up front. But I understand what you mean. I guess if there would have been a man's name up there, it would have a different feeling. Because, all she does is take a bath in the movie. It's like 5 minutes of a girl taking a bath. That's it. I don't know why I did it. It was a freaky little movie. I don't know, it was my little art movie, you know what I mean? Yeah.
And there's another movie you made that we didn't see a clip from, but again, it's showing tonight, called Shit.
Yeah.
And this was something that you had forgotten you made, I think.
I did. I forgot I made it.
I want to bring this up because it's pretty damn funny. And you told me this was influenced to some degree by the fact that at this very early period in your film school experience, you somehow got a job working with Richard Pryor.
Yeah, here's the thing. This was so freaky. I was walking across the campus at UCLA in like 1968 or so, and I was with my daughter's father, and he goes, this is before she was born, he goes, "Oh my God, that's Richard Pryor walking right in front of us." And I said, "Who's that?" And he goes, "The funniest man on the planet." Because back then, not everybody knew who he was, right? So he goes, "Let's go talk to him." So we went up and talked to him. We said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "Well, I'm looking for somebody to help me make a movie." And I go, "Ta-da!" And yeah, so I made this movie with Richard Pryor. And
Uncle Tom's Fairy Tales.
Uncle Tom's Fairy Tales, yeah. And it's kind of lost in oblivion right now. I think it must exist somewhere, but I hope they find it before I'm dead, because it's kind of a trippy movie. But I spent like a year and a half in very close circumstances with Richard Pryor. And for me, that was an education on so many levels, because the man was a genius. I've been blessed, believe me, over the years to have worked with so many gifted people that I was able to, absorb some things from, And when I did Shit, it was a result of having hung out with Richard, because obviously he was pretty unique and, a rebel of the time.
I feel like his timing is so incredible, and his pacing and his stand-up, and timing is something that seems really advanced in your work. It always has to be, in the documentaries and the comedies. Did you feel like you were absorbing something of that from him, or learning?
Well, with Richard, it was just, the cool thing about him is just that he was so honest, and so, I don't even think Richard ever thought about timing, honestly. He just had it, you know what I mean? That's what was cool about it, is he just had it. So, and when it works the best is when it's organic and it just flows out, you know what I'm saying? Not like us up here tonight,
What are you talking about?
I'm joking. But yeah, I don't know, I appreciate the fact that you compliment the timing. I originally started out thinking that I would never be able to be I didn't even think about being a director, because back then you just didn't, So I thought maybe at best out of film school I would be an editor or a script supervisor, and I'm pretty good at editing, and I have to say that I have, especially on the Decline movies, really been right there for every single cut. And yeah, so it's just part of what I think holds it all together. I don't know. Go ahead. What next?
Well, so we saw those clips. You, as you mentioned, you made maybe a few more films than the average film student was making around that time. But for me, and I think, again, if you see the show, you'll agree, they really culminate with these two pieces that you made in 1970 and 72, I Don't Know, and Hats Off to Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, not only is this, I feel like I'm seeing you finding really vividly what at least one thing you really wanted to do in film, which is to listen to people and to observe people and learn from people.
Yeah.
And by that token, they seem to me to lead really directly to decline in Western civilization. But I know you guys probably don't know what happens in these films, but do you want to say anything about what?
Well, they were focusing on these characters that I knew and hung out with all the time that were drag queens, and like hippie drag queens. So they were very, very colorful and really, really fun to be with. And I just was so, you know, enthralled with just putting them in movies and trying to get something out of them. And they're performers, you know, I mean, they just loved it. And it was a great experience working with them. But one thing that I told Mark today that I wanted to make sure of is to not make this talk tonight just like all about me, you know. So really, because really what it should be about you and about you know, like what can you learn from the hell I've been through? No. What you can learn from my experiences, you know, and what I could do to help you, you know. And I think with regard to that, with those two movies, I guess what I could say is that if you're doing a piece of art or if you're doing a movie or whatever it is creatively that you're involved with, I mean, if you feel, it's just a general, just gut feeling, if you feel that you've got to do something about this, this is what made the decline happen. I knew I had to document that. And just, that's what got me going. I didn't sit around going, where can I find a couple of drag queens that I could make some interesting movies about? You know, it just, they walked in front of me, and the thing is to be observant, and to, when it walks in your path, like Richard Pryor did, do something about it, you know, make that move, you know?
Let's see a couple of clips from those.
Oh, you're gonna do that too?
Yeah,
Okay,
so
cool.
the second clip, if you guys don't mind, can everybody see okay since we're sitting up? Yeah.
How about now? No.
While I went down to the telephone company, and they would hire me with the satin boobs. It was hilarious, really. An old lady came up to me. She said, "I'm sorry, Mary, you just won't do." She said, "Come back when you get the other half."
What could be more perfect than love with Jimmy? Man together with woman. Just how Mother Nature ordered it. Finally, I'd fallen in love with a man. It was the way out. It was the last chance for both of us. Well, of course, he had his problems. You might say mostly with his identity. But I had seen the problems. But somehow I knew we could help each other. I remember when I first saw him, I loved him. I thought, only if he could love me too. We were in an elevator in the old apartment building. He was going up, I was going down. It's been that way ever since. An insane adventure.
You are the laziest bitch I've ever seen. You don't do anything. You are lazy, baby. Lazy. What do? I clean the carpet, I do dishes, I do everything, baby. Why don't you bring me home a man once in a while? Why should I? What you do with your own man? My own man? You don't do what anything. What the fuck you think you're here for? If I brought in a man, I didn't take your shit. Why don't you do something? Why don't you? If I brought any men in, you wouldn't be able to see them because you blew the money and there's no money for electricity. So you sit here by candlelight, understand? Then you can go get yourself. Fuck you, bitch. Let it burn.
How the fuck am I supposed to work on my pipe with this shit going on? Just shut the fuck up.
You guys want to see the rest of those now, don't you? Yeah, okay. Oh, they're two of my absolute favorites. I love those movies.
Well, thank you for restoring them, because had you not, they would be dust.
We can't have that.
You can't have that.
We can't have
so
that.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
So you guys get a little bit of a sense of, well, I mean, the subject matter, for lack of a better word. I mean, this this is a subculture, this is a whole marginalized population of Los Angeles that you're dealing with throughout the film. I mean, the film is just a lot more going on than what you just saw, of course. What could the reaction possibly have been from your peers at UCLA and even from the faculty when you made I Don't Know and then Hats Off to Hollywood?
It was mixed. You know, it was a time of tolerance, so you kind of had to be tolerant. But I do remember I was taking all directors, if you want to be a director, you got to take some acting classes so you can experience it from the point of view of the actor. So I took an acting class, and I brought in Jennifer to act in a scene. She's the one with the boobs. And the teacher was really outraged and actually was very, she reprimanded me for doing it. And it just really hurt me so bad because I don't even think about stuff like that, you know? I mean, somebody's sexuality is their business, whatever. This woman was so mean. But it was cool because, see, if you don't hold a grudge and you just let it go and you forgive them, it all comes back around. And, you know, later she was writing a book about her experiences at UCLA, and she wanted me to give her a quote for the book because I had been successful. And I
This is the lesson right here.
and I did it, and there you go. So it's all got to even out. Yeah, no, it was some mixed reactions, but that's cool. I mean, the most difficult reaction, I don't mean to skip forward here too far, but since you're on this subject, is when I did the first Decline movie. The first screening was at the Writers Guild at UCLA. I mean, at, what the hell? On Doheny, okay? And I've never seen it with an audience before, and so we screened it there, and then this woman stands up, and the very first question she asked was, how can you live with yourself when you are glorifying these heathens? That was the first thing I heard. You know? And I thought, because I thought they were going to say, oh, aren't you cool? No, that's the first comment. And I'm like, oh man, is she right? Did I really mess up here, you know? But here we are, ever how many years later, I can't count anymore. But you know, it's requested by museums and schools around the world, and it's very well respected as a historical document. And it's just hard. What I'm saying to you is, if you do something weird and out there and you get really criticized for it, it may not be that way 30, 40 years from now. You know what I mean? You don't know if something's good or bad until some time has passed.
I know that a lot of your interest in making these two films was in these incredible people that you knew, and how, I mean, the Hats Off to Hollywood especially is loaded with characters. I mean, there's so many interesting people in it. But I can't help but think there must have been an impulse to document something that was usually not documented. And the reason I think that is, particularly in I Don't Know, you have some of the earliest footage of, it wasn't called the Gay Pride Parade at the time. It's
called the Gay Liberation Parade.
Yeah. And you give a fairly generous...
There was like 50 people in the street in West Hollywood. That was it, you know. And I'm really glad that I had the insight to know that this was a historic occasion as well, you know, that I had to go down there and shoot that. But it fit into the movie I was shooting too, so yeah, anyway.
So from here, you've kind of eked it out at UCLA Film School. You sort of stretched it out as long as you could, right? Access to equipment, films you wanted to make.
Yeah, I stayed there like really too long. They were like, could you just leave, you know? Because I knew if I left, I couldn't make movies. I already said that, but go on.
Well, but then you did. I mean, you figured out a way to make a living making film.
I got a call one day from this guy named Peter Philbin that worked at CBS Records. I don't know why I knew him, just from around the music scene. And he goes, how would you like to make a music video? And I go, well, what is that? And he said, we just figured out that we can send just a little piece of film around the world, and we don't have to send the bands. Because they keep wrecking shit, you know? So so we'll do these music videos, and we'll save all this money for the airfare and the hotels and everything. And so I started a company called Rock and Reel, and I think it was the first music video company here in LA, and I don't know where else, there might have been some, but whatever. Anyway, I shot really a lot of bands, and back in those days, they were mostly performance videos. They weren't concept videos, and this is way, way before MTV. This is the early 70s.
And most people haven't seen these. I mean, because it's not like there's a DVD compilation or anything.
I mean, I
really
got a call
them.
from some dude in Holland that said he was wanting to put out a Funkadelic record, and could I dig up my old footage? And I said, well, what about the rights and clearances? And he said, screw him, just give it to me. And I said, yeah, really, somebody should know. I know, don't clap for that because I get ripped off every day. Anyway, I did it myself. No, so anyway, I yanked out those Funkadelic films, and yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of precedent for this kind of work, especially doing it like as a small company, and you were doing pretty much all the work yourself at first,
yeah.
right? The shooting, the editing, the concept.
I shot one camera, cut it,
yeah.
Produced it, everything.
Yeah, I mean, and so to me, this is not just, I think, pioneering work in, music videos, but just in visualizing music in film. But also, again, I think this leads directly to the decline films, because with the music films, I feel like there is the focus on the music, but obviously, I think you seem to have been aware that there's a lot more than just the music going on in a music scene.
I did after I did the music videos, yeah. I mean, I was backstage with all those guys, and there was some whack stuff going on. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, I mean, if you're talking about the decline, it's just like whenever I saw that scene, I just knew I had to document it, no matter what.
Well, before we get to that, we actually put together a few minutes long set of excerpts from some of the music films, since they're just so rarely seen, that we wanted to share. So you're going to see clips from 5 of them strung together.
Oh, yeah?
Including,
that's awesome.
Including Funkadelic.
Oh, Funkadelic, right on.
What's happening, y'all? Y'all ready to turn the sucker out? Hey, go park my shoes.
I'm sorry, I gotta say, I don't know where Christina is. Christina, why did you not provide a mothership for us to come out on stage? I mean, who wants to get on a stage without a mothership? Yeah. So, so how many of these films did you make? Do you remember?
How many music videos?
Yeah.
Oh, God, hundreds.
Yeah.
Yeah, really a lot. And I also, over at Warner Brothers Records, I did something called sales presentations. Again, there was a point at which, and there was no digital, you know, you couldn't just send it in an email. So we had to, you know, make a 16-millimeter film, like an hour worth of film, and they would send it out to the field reps across the country when they had new product. So I ended up shooting, like, for any given quarter, which is when their new product came out, I would end up shooting, you know, like 5 to 10 different bands and putting little bits and pieces in there with comments from the record company executives, you know. I got awesome interviews with Mo and Joe at Warner Brothers. And anyway.
But then I mean, there were these which were usually like a single song or maybe a set of songs by a given artist, but you did a couple, at least a few longer ones, like Ry Cooder, you did a kind of...
Well, yeah, sometimes they would do these special longer pieces when they felt like that would help sell something, you know, so yeah, I had a half-hour film on Ry Cooder, and there were some other ones too.
So is there any connection between the work you did on this and then discovering the punk scene in LA?
Well, I mean, I was always into music, you know. I mean, having a, you know, we've all got troubled childhood, yes. So, and we all use something for escape. And music was my escape, you know. And so I was always going to clubs and listening to bands and doing all that you people do at this age. And I don't do it anymore, but anyway. When I saw the punk scene start to happen, it's like, as I said, I felt just totally possessed. I would go to clubs, and there would be people with just like a little still camera, and I would walk up and I would say, I'm sorry, you can't shoot anything in here because I'm doing this. And they, back in the day, they would just go, oh, I'm so sorry, and put it away, you know? And so, so I did the Decline movie, and I was actually had just produced a movie with Albert Brooks, because Lauren called me up and said, Penelope, I've got this guy, he's really funny, and he doesn't know how to make movies, but could you show him, because we want to put him on the show. And so I showed Albert how to make movies, you know, and he taught me a lot about Hollywood, but he asked me to produce this movie called Real Life, and I was the producer on that movie, and when I was doing that movie, I realized, I don't want to do this part. I don't want to do the producing part. I want to direct. So it wasn't until then that I was actually able to admit that I could be feature film director. I mean, I remember standing in the bank opening an account for the money which I did not have, and that said occupation, and I'm like looking over my shoulder. I'm just going to go for it, film director, you know. And yeah, so I stepped aside from, and I had an invitation to go in like interviews to, you know, be a producer on the Private Benjamin Goldie Hawn movie and stuff like that, but I decided not to do it. And all my friends, because I met a lot of these Hollywood types, Jim Brooks and Rob Reiner and Chris Guest, we were all friends way back then, and they said, no, Penelope, go, this is where the money is, you know, go over here and make these studio movies, produce them. And I'm like, no, I gotta do this little tiny punk rock documentary. I have to do that instead. So I made that decision, and I'm glad I did. you know.
Are you guys glad she did? Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer.
Thank you.
So did it start with the music, but then through the music you discovered this fascinating, again, maybe subculture that you weren't seeing in the mainstream media or elsewhere?
Well, you know, I mean, you're listening to the music, and if you're going to do a music movie, I don't think entire wall-to-wall music is good in a music movie, you know? You have to do other things. And so I knew a lot of the bands personally, and I knew how radical they were at the time, and I knew how significant that punk rock movement was. And so what is a trip is that, you know, and when I was growing up, I kind of came from total chaos, you know? And that's what the punk rock scene was. When you first saw it back in those days, it was total effing chaos. And that's what was cool about it, you know? And what I kind of gave myself an assignment of was make some structure out of this. That was me. I had to like make structure out of chaos. It was just an urge I had. And hopefully I did, I don't know.
Well, let's watch a clip, shall we?
From the
Decline
Decline?
1, yeah.
Oh my God.
Can we do the next
He's
clip
got
again?
clips coming from everywhere.
Yeah.
That stupid punk rock. I just think of this rock and roll, that's what it is.
So tell me why you don't sing into the mic, Darby.
Don't pay attention.
Yeah, this mic's not working.
What's the pent-up aggression? Where does that come from?
Well, with me, it just comes from like living in this city and just seeing everything, seeing all the ugly old people. And
everyone shouldn't be afraid to be as different as they want to be. People hold back a lot.
Show me your head. Why did you do that?
Oh, that's sad.
No.
sometimes I can get at some aggression, maybe by beating up some asshole, you know.
Sync is bad.
Are you guys still rolling up in the recording track?
And eventually they learned how to play.
Apologies for the sync. I don't know what happened. I think I gave you a crappy piece of tape to come from. But as you know, there are no DVDs yet, and there's no, it actually has, but we're working on them.
Well, and what we're going to see, if you, and I think it's in this theater, right? It's in the big theater. Decline 1 will be a 35 millimeter print, so it will look better than that.
Right on.
So
yeah.
please come back for that.
Yeah, I don't know what happened in the sync there. It went wonky. Okay.
But so, there's a lot to cover in that film. I mean, we could have done this whole thing just on Decline of Western Civilization, easy, and gone 3 times as long as we should. So I found it really difficult to figure out what to even talk about here. But, I mean, how did you feel getting to know this scene? And I feel like there was a learning curve as you were making the film, for sure, there must have been. And as you were making the film and as you were learning about what it was you were making, how did that both inform you about what was going on, but also then inform what you did later? Because it's right after this you started making narrative features.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think with the first Decline, I knew that it was important to do it. And I felt, as I said, possessed to get it done. What surprises me about it to this day is that as time has gone on, interest in it has grown. And I don't know if that's a function of the fact that the DVDs aren't available and people can't see it very much and therefore they want to see it. Because I mean, I get just an inordinate number of requests, and I have somebody working full-time taking down the bootlegs, and I mean, it's just, as time has gone on, it's become more and more popular, and the thing about it, I'm not saying that to, you know, pat myself on the back. I'm just astounded by that, you know? I'm very happy about it, and I'm going to get the DVDs out there because, to be honest with you, it's a bit of a burden for me to have to do it. And I feel, because I don't like to look back. That's my thing, you know? I just like to just keep going forward. So whenever I look back, it reminds me of all kinds of depressing crap that I don't want to remember. So I don't look back. I just keep going forward. And so now I've got to sit down, and we've done that. I sat, and you'll be proud of me, Mark. He's the archivist. I sat a couple years ago and pasted together all of the little pieces that would connect the pieces of the interview that you see in the movie. So we have, I believe we still, you know, I'm remembering, right, that like in the Black Flag interview in the church, we have all of that strung together now. So if you, yeah, and it's cool because it's got a different flavor. You can see the ins, that you see the pieces that were in the movie, and then it flips over to the piece in between. Yeah, so we have that for the extras on the DVD, and I think people will be interested in it, you know. But that's a lot of work to get that all together, and we're almost there, though. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like I know so many people that seeing, especially the first Decline film, was, I mean, a rite of passage in a way. I know people that started bands because of it, and I mean, you must have gotten a lot of that feedback from people over the years, but...
My favorite one, and again, not to pat myself on the back, but it really means so much to me, when somebody says, your film changed my life. That is a reason right there to do your art. If you can do something that makes a difference in another person's life, that's the reason to do anything, you know? And a positive difference, hopefully. Yeah. So that's really the big reason why I'm very, very happy that I made that movie, you know.
And then another film that we're showing at Ann Arbor here is Suburbia, which is going to show Friday and Saturday at midnight at the State Theater, right up the street. This obviously came out of Decline to some degree, because you familiarized yourself quite a bit with a lot of people that were part of that culture and everything. But
yeah.
What ultimately was the impetus for wanting to make that film?
Interesting question, and I don't think I've ever even said this to you, but maybe I did because I don't remember everything anymore. But what happened when we did the first Decline movie, we opened it, we couldn't get a theater to open it. The Mann Theater chain up on, they had all the theaters in LA at the time. We spoke personally with these twin brothers, the Mann brothers, and we said, please, can we just have like one midnight showing? And they said, no, because nobody cares. Nobody wants to come and see a documentary. Okay, so well, we'll pay for the theater. No. Okay, so we got a theater across the street for one midnight showing. And Daryl Gates was the police chief at the time. He had to shut down Hollywood Boulevard. And so many people came, like there was the front of the theater was glass. And I remember walking up, and it looked like oh dear. I just hit myself. It looked like the faces were going to bust through the glass. There was so many people in there, inside the theater, there was like that. Anyway, so point being, I still couldn't get any distribution after that because the theater owners thought that the kids would wreck their theaters. And all that really happened that night was an usher got his jacket flushed down the toilet. So big deal. You know? That was it. And then they wouldn't let me show the movie anymore. And so because of that, punks are creative, you gotta remember. And they're not gonna do something like, you know, graffiti or something. Anyway. So because I couldn't get the movie into distribution, we four-walled the Fairfax Theater. It was only a one-plex at that point, and after we four-walled it, that means rent it and pay the theater per week and blah, blah. It was a multiplex because they were able to redo the whole theater from the money they made from us. Yeah, and well, at least that's what I like to think. And then the other thing I did was because I believed what they said about it being a documentary. And so I wrote Suburbia with the same themes as The First Decline, because I thought if I do a narrative movie, then I can get distribution. And I found the money to do Suburbia from some guy that was I'm not going to say some guy, he's still my friend today. He's an awesome person, Bert Dragon, who's from the Midwest, and he had a furniture company and he made a bunch of money, moved out to Hollywood, he wanted to do a movie. So I don't know how I met him again, it just happens. And I was able to get half of the $500,000 from him, and when we had half the money, I went to Roger Corman and got the other half. So yeah, Suburbia, 500 grand. And again, it's something of a cult piece. I know my buddy Casey likes it. He came over here with like posters and everything, I got one fan now.
So, and how well did the film do?
Say again?
How well did the film do?
Most of my films before Wayne's World didn't do that well at all. Yeah. But you know what's freaky about it? Which is why whenever I make a film, even recently, and it doesn't get proper distribution, what's freaky about it is they last a long time. Yeah. They have that cult following and that really lasting thing, and I'd rather have that than a big weekend box office. That's, whoever. The weekend's over with, I'd rather have 30 years of somebody giving a crap,
Yeah, no, that's what I was kind of getting at. I feel like those films have such a slow burn in terms of over 30 years, how they've sort of permeated.
And I don't know why that is, but it's sometimes really painful. Like when I did, which one was it that didn't get, The Boys Next Door with Charlie Sheen and Max Caulfield. I remember that didn't get any distribution either, And Joel Schumacher, God bless him, was in a restaurant with me one day, and he goes, "What's happening with your movie?" And I said, "Well, I can't get distribution for it." He goes, "Well, Bob Ramey's right over there." And Joel Schumacher stood up in a restaurant, and he goes, "Bob, would you please release her fucking movie?" And, and they did. So God bless Joel Schumacher.
Those are tricks of the trade.
I guess that's what you got to do. No, it's the man talking to the man and saying the word fuck that did it. But anyway, it worked.
So, just because we touched on it earlier, I'm kind of curious. Again, being a woman in a male-dominated environment like UCLA, this obviously must have continued into the industry, even in the independent filmmaking.
I've had my clothes torn off by a producer, in the music video days. The guy was all drunk. He goes, "You want to do this music video tomorrow or not?" And he grabs I was wearing satin overalls. Don't tell anyone. And he grabbed them and ripped them, and it just like went way down there. And I'm at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and I'm like, "What do I do now?" And so I kind of put myself back together. I remember running down the hall, and I thought, what an asshole. And I don't want to tell any poor me stories, but yeah. I got plenty of those, I mean, I didn't get to direct Wayne's World 2. Oh, boo-hoo, It goes on and on. But the thing is, and again, let's bring it back to you guys. You want to do this work? Get ready to be treated really, really, really crappy and get ready to be over it, okay? And, the only thing is I did think about, because the guy had, one of these, people that drive black Porsches, I don't like them for some reason. But this guy had a black Porsche, and I was like, I know where he parks it, and I'm just going to go pour sugar in the gas tank. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. But you know what? I didn't have to. And this is a true story, swear to God. I saw this guy drunk off his ass on a bus bench out of a job, probably 15 years later. You don't have to do anything to get him back. Because it just happens, Yeah.
Well, and speaking of black Porsches in excess, Decline of Western Civilization Part 2.
Right on.
The metal years. I think let's just first let it speak for itself. Can we show the next clip?
Why did you get into rock and roll in the beginning?
Because I noticed that you got lots of girls, all sizes, all shapes, big, small, short, tall. Jesus Christ, when the two of them kissed,
They were like monsters, man. Lines of chicks outside their rooms every night. You know, what's the matter with me? I'm trying to pull the stragglers, you know.
Talk to me a little about the girls that approached you.
Oh. Who's that?
Fine with
Why, did somebody say something?
What do you think about groupies?
I love them.
Amazing.
They're great.
Yeah. Significantly amazing.
They keep a young man hard.
It's a way of life, you know?
It's like your alter ego. They're doing the same thing you are. I mean, you're in a band and you love it. You love the music that you're playing. You know, you see them freaking out and loving it. It's just, you know, it just reinforces the way you feel.
In the 60s, they used to call them groupies, you know, so I like to call them the fleas and ticks of rock and roll. That's my motto.
The best groupies are in Salt Lake City. And I've had 4 of them at a time.
So you're getting a group sex?
Yeah, it's happened. It's happened.
We've done 4 or 5 times since we've been here. How long have you been here? 5 weeks. Do you often see girls take off their shirts at your concerts?
Yeah. It's our form of salute. We go, hello, and they go, hello.
Leads me to an interesting story. One day I was in my hotel room, and Brett's room was next to mine, and I heard this girl screaming and pounding on the door.
This girl with really long hair sits in the bar stool by the side of us, and we don't know. And suddenly she goes bang and falls on the floor.
So she says, I'll only stay a while. All right, so we become fast friends. We swap spit.
He gets her by the legs, and I get her by the shoulders. And I got her by the shoulders, and I get so far up with her, and she starts wobbling and screaming. What's the matter with that?
I finally got out of bed, and I said, the hell with this, I'm going to go do something about it. I walk outside, and his door opens, and the girl comes running out.
So I don't know how to get rid of this girl. She says, what do you want of me?
And I suddenly realized I had my foot on her hair.
She was there for 15 minutes trying to get out of me.
I said, go up to the 23rd floor where the road crew is and take care of them.
She's like doing an epileptic fit, and I thought, oh my God.
If I woke up and looked at me in the morning, I'd be screaming too to get out. You know?
And I don't know what happened, but the next day the road crew was very friendly.
Have you ever said to yourself, I could fall in love with this groupie?
Have you ever said to yourself, I could fall in love with this groupie? Yeah.
Probably not, because I'd have to think that somebody in every other band had also.
Man. Yeah, apropos of what we had just been talking about immediately before. Anyway, this film is really different, obviously. It's not about punk, first of all, but you had more funding, right?
Why what?
You had more funding.
Funding, yeah.
And you were working with a label.
Yeah.
Right. So how was that experience different?
Well, it was, let's put it this way. I was approached to direct Spinal Tap. This guy, David Javelin, was working with Harry Shearer and Chris. And they told me the concept one day. And I thought, no, you guys, I can't do this because I love heavy metal music so much I can't make fun of it, right? The reason that relates to this is because, yes, I was working with IRS World Media at the time. And cool guy, Paul Collishman, you know, said, what would you do if you could do any movie you wanted? And I said, The Decline Part 2, about metal music. So that's how that started. But there were some people to answer to, you know, like, it's not as pure as I would have done it had I not been supervised with the checkbook. So, yeah. It's not, you know, I mean, I would have made it about more, I would have been more serious, but it is kind of fluff, and people like it, and it's become, you know, fun to make fun of that time, and that's why I fought really hard to get Megadeth in the end of the movie, because at least they have something to say, just in terms of their lyrics, and their songs have a little, you know, weight and gravity to them, you know, and it's just not all fluff and hair.
But then this did get you a certain amount of, oh, I don't know if it led directly to Wayne's World necessarily, but you'd known more and more.
You know, for a long time, Mark, I thought the reason, I mean, I did want to make a studio movie, mind you. It's so hard for a woman to break into the studio system. But I thought, a long time I thought, maybe it's because I did The Decline. That's why I got the gig to do Wayne's World, because what other director in Hollywood really knew anything about, you know, headbangers that Garth and Wayne thought they were. I thought it might have something to do with that. And then I thought it might have something to do with the fact that maybe Lorne felt guilty that he always promised me that I could direct pieces on Saturday Night Live, but never let me do it because just chicks weren't allowed to do that. But then I realized, no, that's probably not it either. And I think the reason I had handled Albert, you know, Lorne knew that I had handled Albert. And I think he thought of me for Wayne's World because of that, you know, and something that you actually pointed out in a conversation to me, and I think you were more right on about that than my analysis of it. So, yeah, whatever it was, you know, all of a sudden I'm involved in the studio system. And that, I mean, talk about, I drove up, you know, some dude drove me up. I didn't even have to drive there because it was a studio movie and they got to keep the Teamsters busy. And they drove me up to the set and I'm like, we must be in the wrong place. There's like way too many trucks. You don't need these many trucks, you know? And, but no, this was my first studio experience. And who would ever imagine that the movie would take off like it did?
Yeah. Well, and not only did that lead to getting other studio gigs, but it enabled you a certain amount of freedom to make what I think is unfortunately not as well known as the other two Decline films, but Decline of Western Civilization Part 3, which you guys have to come see tomorrow night.
You didn't ask me, but I'm going to tell you, all my movies I've made, The Decline Part 3 is my favorite movie. Yeah. It's kind of depressing. Oh, no, it's actually profoundly depressing, but I didn't want to steer you away in case you wanted to be all happy. But, yeah, that's my favorite movie I've done. And it didn't get any distribution because the only way that it could, that I could make a deal, was that I was offered, I was offered distribution if I would give up rights to the other two movies. And I wouldn't do it. Yeah. So it didn't get any distribution. I mean, I've had to make some pretty heavy-duty decisions in my life, you know, like not recut Wayne's World 1 or you can't do Wayne's World 2. Fine, I'll make that decision, you know, and ultimately thought it was the right thing. Not do the Goldie Hawn movie, go do Decline 1. And those are hard decisions to make, you know, but not get distribution for Decline 3. Okay, fine. But people want to see it now. And it'll come out with the DVDs. So, you know, and I think that movie, what's freaky about that movie is that it's kind of I shot it in 97, okay? And I did Suburbia, you're better at this than me, in 83, okay? Suburbia is a written narrative piece on the same subject as Decline 3, which was made in 97. And I'm often going back and forth in my head going, do people watch Suburbia and then do that in Decline 3? Or was I struck by God and I saw it coming? You know, I just don't understand why they're so similar, but they really are.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it seems to me the culture of like the gutter punks in Decline 3, obviously, first of all, they're fans. I mean, that's part of how you got them to trust you, I think.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they loved the first
and
movie.
I paid them, yeah.
Okay, well, okay. Never underestimate that, I guess.
Well, I made all that money on those studio movies. I mean, I was making like $3 million a movie. Can you imagine? That's just insane. Why would they do that? They don't do that anymore. So if you got any ideas about going out there and doing that, yeah, ain't gonna happen. Because everybody can do it now. Yeah. But I mean, I feel very fortunate that I was able to work in the business when you could make those amazing salaries and, you know, get the movies done, you know.
But how many people do that and then actually still make an effort to make a personal independent work like Decline 3?
Yeah, I mean, if I told you the number of movies, or the kinds of movies that I turned down over the years, you know, it was like George of the Jungle, Legally Blonde, I'm like, how could this dipshit shit chick work as a lawyer? I don't get that. So, wait, miscongeniality. I mean, the list goes on. Dr. Dolittle, it goes on and on and on. If I would have continued to do that, I mean, here's the thing. I shop at Target, okay? So I don't really have stuff to spend the money on, you know? Like, what if I would have done those movies? There would be so much more. What would I have to go out and, you know, do something good in the world, for Christ's sake?
So let's see a little bit of what you did instead of doing miscongeniality.
Yeah, anything to shut me up. Go ahead.
Decline of Western Civilization, Part 3.
What do you hate the most about the world?
Everything sucks.
What's your name?
Why me?
Who?
Squid?
Spell Wayne Sage.
I'm Troll. It's Pinwheel.
I'm Hamburger.
Spare quarter for disorder.
1, 2, fuck you! I'm Hollywood! Welcome to the $8 million from this $1 million to save!
But you still a little bit change to get another one of those. How old were you when you started drinking?
About 14, 12, 10, 11, 3.
Hi, Mom. Thanks for making me an alcoholic. I love you.
I live right here in this filthy garbage inside that you see every day in L.A. And I enjoy it.
How long have you been homeless?
Off and on since 12.
Since I was 16.
14, I believe.
18?
I got kicked out of my house when I was 9 years old.
This city has become a lot more hostile and a lot less caring as time has gone by. I know that it's a drastic difference.
My father's dead. My mom, she's in a shelter. I don't know where she is. I don't think she knows where I am.
So why did you leave home?
Physical abuse.
What would your dad hit you with?
His fist.
Chairs, his fists, whatever he can get his hands on.
People that decide to live on the streets, they know they can't exist in regular society. They can't go on. It's not because of them. It's because of what society's become. It's in decline. It's falling apart.
Where are you all going to be 5 years from now? Where?
I'll probably be dead in 5 years from now. You guys won't miss us.
Shit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a tough movie.
Mark, thank you for doing this. I didn't even know that you had put all this together. This is amazing. It's
Well, you
amazing.
edited that. I didn't edit that.
No, I know, but no, there were some cuts that you did. Cop to it. No, there were. No, you mean this was that was the clip thing? Oh,
Yeah,
okay, okay. Just I thank you so much for doing it. It's really awesome. Thank you so much.
I don't know. I'm not going to do a We're Not Worthy, but it's in my heart, though, for sure. Yeah. So where does this leave us? I'm not sure. It leaves us with very little time left. I'm sorry, you guys, but...
Where's Becca? She's their timer.
Yeah.
We're done? Oh, my God, that was so much fun.
So you're here another couple days.
I'm here for a couple days.
We have a show tonight at 9:30. We have another show. We have 2 shows tomorrow. We have Suburbia at midnight, Friday and Saturday. And you'll be around, and I'm sure you have some fans.
Well, I just want to say thank you all for coming out. That was so cool of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Cool.
I hope you learned something.
Should we leave? What should we do?
Yeah, we should probably just leave.
We're done?
Right?
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Later days.